Hello and welcome to Sex and the News. We are the Siegel brothers. Tonight we have a story about how pollution is shrinking penises, and scientists are claiming that toxic chemicals are threatening humanity. We then will talk about raging hormones and how testosterone makes men more selfish, according to this one particular study. And then chock's a block. We'll finish up talking about how your favorite foods, especially chocolate, could be lowering your sex drive. And it's bad news if you are a chocoholic. Right, so for our first study, we look at an interesting, scary kind of concept, how pollution is shrinking penises. And we know that not only are penis sizes shrinking, but people's fertility in general has been decreasing in the last several years. Dr. Shauna Swan, an environmental and reproductive epidemiologist, explained the worrying findings in a new book that she's just released called Countdown: How Our Modern World is Threatening Sperm Counts, Altering Male and Female Reproductive Development, and Imperiling the Future of the Human Race.
Oh my.
Yeah, obviously she didn't have one of those editors who wanted a short, catchy title.
What's she really trying to say?
And basically what she's saying is that the chemicals in our environment and unhealthy lifestyle practices in our modern world are disrupting our hormone balances, causing various degrees of reproductive havoc.
Listen to this. It starts out by saying in some parts of the world, the average 20-something woman today is less fertile than her grandmother was at 35.
Yeah, and looking at the differences in fertility between the 1970s going to like 2017, it has dramatically changed. She's explaining that babies get exposed to various chemicals while in utero and again during their own lifestyle. So each generation is absorbing more and more of these environmental toxins than the previous generation. And what we are looking at certainly today are levels of fertility that are lower than we've ever seen. But it's not only fertility. Right. What she's also talking about, her latest research, is showing that these chemicals and these pollutants are also reducing the volume of testes as well as penis size and quality of sperm. Right.
Well, we know we've all been accumulating plastics in our bodies for the last, 70, 80 years. And that plastics have been shown to have an estrogenic effect. Both in bodies and in the environment.
Right. And another sort of casualty of all of this plastics and all the different chemicals that are associated with those, the phthalates, parabens, atrazine, and most people are familiar with BPAs. And, not only are these having that reproductive impact, but it also seems to be especially related to some of these different studies that have been done, particularly in China, showing that there is a pretty good link between all of these chemicals coming from plastics and low sexual desire. And as therapists, as sexologists, what is it that gets talked about sex more than low desire? And especially when we talk about the last several years. And I think it's a little too simplistic to say it's all about the plastics, but that is a major culprit.
Yeah.
Right? Not only what we're consuming, but, as I'm sure people have heard about, the microparticles that are in all this marine life that we're also consuming.
All the seafood we eat is packed with microplastics.
That's right. In fact,
and if anybody within the sound of our broadcast is still heating your food in the microwave in plastic, please stop it.
Yes.
Put it in a bowl. Put it on a plate.
Right, and at least make sure it's BPA free. A pretty frightening thing I've heard recently as well, as some of you may have heard, that I think it's by 2050, I want to say maybe even earlier than that when you look at the relative weights, there's going to be more plastic in the ocean than fish.
Oh, God.
Right? That's a wonderful thought. All right.
Wow.
We already have islands of plastic that people have gotten used to, floating around the size of Texas. But there's apparently one in the Pacific that's probably, I think, the size of Sweden and maybe another two countries
2 or 3
put together.
European countries.
Yeah. So we definitely have to do something about it, right? And pressure your manufacturers. Use your power as a consumer.
Yeah.
Right. It's all been bullshit about this recycling and all of this stuff, but making it the consumer's responsibility. No. Put the pressure on the people who need to have the pressure.
Yeah. People who are making plastic crap.
And by the way, recycling for the most part is bullshit. So
I think,
try to buy better products.
Do you remember Penn and Teller's classic series called Bullshit? Where they made a really good point. Watch the bums, right? If you want to see what has value, right? Recycle cans, recycle aluminum, right? When you see bums out there picking up plastic bottles, then you'll know there'll be a benefit in recycling plastic. But it is a con, right?
It really is.
Every city and every town in this country pretty much invests millions of dollars for separate garbage pickups and bins and the sorting and the whole bit, and the amount that is actually recycled is minuscule.
It's like less than 5%.
It's such a little bit, and everybody's washing and rinsing and sorting their garbage, and it's still
a
ending
scam.
up in the same
It really
place.
is. It's in the oceans.
Yeah,
Right?
or
and
landfills.
And in your bodies.
Yeah, and
in
in our
landfills
bodies
and in your
and our
bodies,
fish.
ultimately.
Yeah.
That's right. So,
we got happier news?
we do have some happier news.
Well,
I don't know
if
about
this is
happier
happy
news. I'm not sure if any of this is happy news, really. But it's news.
Yeah.
So the second story that we'll talk about is this series of studies, basically from China, which shows that testosterone, not just about muscles, not just about sex drive, which it doesn't have anywhere near an impact that the way people like to think it does, but kind of makes men selfish. Right? There was a study done in this Shenzhen University in China, and they created this hypothetical situation in which participants in this study were asked if they wanted to share basically the equivalent of about $50 with various relatives, friends, or complete strangers. Now, half of the participants in that study, before they were given that option, basically applied a testosterone gel, right, which would probably by brand be androgel. They rubbed it on their shoulders, and they didn't know that it contained testosterone. So it was kind of a blind study. Some got a placebo gel, some got the testosterone. And nobody really knew who it was. Now, those who had higher testosterone in their bloodstream were less likely to split the cash with people that they didn't know. Right? Now, at the same time, while they were in the middle of all of this, they also had them hooked up to a functional MRI, and they were doing brain scans in all of this. And they found that there was lower activity. Those that got the testosterone gel, there was lower activity in the part of the brain referred to as the temporoparietal junction, which is related to actions around social thinking and empathy.
Interesting.
Right? And those that did not get the testosterone gel were not only more generous, but they had more activity in those brain regions.
Wow.
So it's, again, one of those interesting findings that show us that...
So these old jokes about getting turned on makes you kind of stupid and self-absorbed?
Yeah.
Perhaps it's true.
Now, again, how much further than this particular study can we take these results? Again, it still remains to be seen. But it does show that, the connection between generosity, economic kind of generosity in particular, seems to be related to testosterone. Right? So the higher the level of testosterone, the more selfish, at least economically, according to this study, guys are. And it certainly stands to reason that that selfishness can be sort of broadened out into other areas.
I would think it relates to competitiveness and that dominant drive to, have your sperm win out.
Yep. So again, maybe guys just can't help themselves.
We fight our evolutionary selves at every turn.
Constantly, absolutely. And the last story that we have for you tonight, this to me is a bit sad.
Oh,
right?
Mom's not around to see
exactly.
this.
Being the sons of somebody who considered chocolate to be a whole separate and essential food group. Again, it looks like researchers reckoning with women who regularly scoff a bar or two of chocolate are less inclined to get steamy between the sheets because chocolate gives the brain a similar boost to having sex. Now that's something that people have talked about for a long time.
PEA, right?
PEA.
Phenylethylamine.
Yeah, exactly. Serotonin is a factor in this.
That was a theory about why we got this tradition of giving chocolate on Valentine's Day, right? To make your lover a little more randy.
That's right. But they also determined that there is a significant correlation between how much chocolate women are eating and how low their sexual drive tends to be.
Dude, don't knock chocolate.
I'm not knocking chocolate.
On behalf of our dear mother.
I'm not knocking chocolate.
Don't knock chocolate.
Okay? Just the reality is women who ate chocolate more frequently reported significantly less interested in sex. Right? Now,
maybe because chocolate's better.
Well, but see now, that's kind of on point there. Yeah, it seems that if the body is getting these chemicals in, it may already kind of be getting the message that it's getting gratification.
Or if someone's particularly women, having sex that's not worth having, then perhaps a good Mr. Goodbar would do the trick.
Be preferable.
Yeah.
Sure. Absolutely. Right? When Mr. Goodbar cannot outperform Mr. Goodbar, you got something there.
Right.
Okay. So there's and in this particular article, it also shows that there are a number of other sort of sex-killing foods that people eat as well. Things with a lot of sugar in it, like sodas, soy products, because they are estrogenic.
Right?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Bottled water. Right? We're back to the plastics. Right? Absolutely. Yeah. Mint. Believe it or not, mint is a sex killer as well as licorice.
Oh no!
All right, so.
But who likes licorice?
Yeah, really, right? Really. You give licorice to people you don't like, so hopefully it's not much of an issue. But mint, all right. So maybe look for a different breath freshener before getting into the sexual arena. And as we do like to end our show,
we do like to end with Poetic Justice, our weekly chance to call out hypocrisy, especially when it comes to sexuality.
Indeed. And this week's, we really do have what we can describe as a real winner in this particular context. This is a shout out that definitely deserves to be shouted out. We are talking about, of course,
a cop,
Rodney Vicknair, a 13-year veteran who, by all accounts, should not have made it 13 years.
No. A long history of questioning why his badge was never taken from him.
Yep. And you want to give a quick little rundown about what earned him this week's honor?
This veteran of the police force in New Orleans was arrested for sexually assaulting a 15-year-old girl, who he first met when he drove her and her mother to the hospital for a rape kit.
Yeah.
Then spent the entire spring and summer of 2020 grooming her, progressing from highly inappropriate comments about her body to touching and fondling before sexually assaulting her.
Right.
What a piece
And
of
this
shit.
is a pattern for this guy. Early on in his career.
Traffic stops were an opportunity for pickups.
That's
in
right.
This guy's twisted head.
Right? That's right. The one thing that he did get in, quote, trouble for, which I think ended up to be a 5-day suspension,
Right.
where he ran some woman's license plate, got her personal information, just so that he can call her over to his car by her name. Mm-hmm. Right? Now, again, you want to talk about an abuse of power, using his power to basically prey upon women sexually.
Yeah.
All right. So, Officer Vic Dane from New Orleans, you have truly earned this week's shout out as our Poetic Justice. And we salute you as we do all of the sexual hypocrites and creeps that we do like to call out. So for this week's Poetic Justice, there you go. And that'll do it for this week's Sex in the News. We are the Siegel Brothers. Thanks for watching.